I want you to know that when I added the music to this, I was not trying to be funny. I wasn't trying to be inventive. I just wanted you, if you would like, to pause and read the quotes from both sides of this argument, okay? Before I get into this, let me just say that I didn't write too many notes for this. So the thing is, there is a divide amongst black people in this country who are the descendants of slaves. So when I use the term FBA, or Foundational Black American, I am referring to the descendants of slaves. This is what I call myself, or I call myself Black American, as an extension of the fact that I accept that I'm black, and I have no qualms about the fact that this is the skin color I am. I don't make being black my God, because that's just not who I am. I don't think this inherently makes me a god or goddess. It's just my skin color. So I prefer using the terms Foundational Black American, because we helped build this country, and Black American because it's an extension of the fact that I don't see my skin color or my ethnicity and who I am as a stigma. And while some blacks in the United States call themselves African American, I do not prefer that term, because while I have no hatred for my African descent, I have no familiarity with what it's like to be culturally African. So I hope that makes sense. Before I go on, everybody's like, well, why you say that? Because I'm going to use Black American and FBA interchangeably, okay? I've already told you all a couple of months ago about the fact that I grew up homeless. Not grew up homeless, but I was homeless for 2 short stints in my childhood. I know what it's like to be fed but not know where your next meal was going to come from, and not know where the meal you were eating came from. That kind of understanding, that type of poverty, will cause you to think as you get older and give you perspective on life. That though we live in the quotation marks free world, free has a nuanced connotation. You are free to say what you want and do what you want, but let's not pretend there aren't consequences. Let's get to the article. Before I go deep into this article, okay, you see the title, right? Without a doubt, there was segregation and Jim Crow in this country. Some historical wrongs happened. Food insecurity is included in these historical wrongs. This is why we have what's called food jungles. Okay? So I'm not going to sit here and downplay the fact that there is a disparity in how people are fed in this country, and that sometimes it can be racial. So here's the story, okay? Foundational Black American woman goes to a church. It offers a proposal to build a food pantry across the street. Mind you, she told them that it would be accessible 24/7 to whoever is in need. She then opens the food pantry, Foundational Black American, then proceeds to put up signs that says Black and Indigenous folks only. By indigenous, I think she means the first peoples of the Americas, what we often say American Indian or Native American. That's hard for me to unpack because that's not my ethnic group. Mind you, this is also taxpayer funded. Okay. From something called the Path to Black Health. Because we have in the black community in the ghettos what's called, or in the hood, what's called food jungles, where you were eating more convenience store food. Therefore, there was high levels of hypertension, blood pressure, and diabetes. And of course, black American women have higher rates of heart disease in this country than any woman in the United States. That's just the stats. Don't get mad at me about it. A white chaplain walks in and is told that and is refused service, and so he goes to the Civil Rights Commission, I think it is, and fills out a complaint. So the black lady moves it and says, come clean out the pantry, we're going to move somewhere else. And the two quotes that I played with the music allowed you to see the church had no clue that white people and possibly people of other colors were not going to be let in because they're not either Native American or Black American. Let me say this, there has been some parallels between those groups. Again, Black Americans being seen as the lowest of the low in a lot of cases. Native Americans who were here hundreds of years before we all arrived and had resources and land and things taken. We can beat that dead horse, right? Pardon my offense, because if you are a certain foundational Black American, I'm about to offend you. Okay. As a person who lived temporarily homeless twice in my childhood, I can in no way, form, or fashion back this woman. You lied to this church, an institution whose holy Bible says that the God they serve, which I also believe in, has no respect of persons. So you didn't just put these people in a natural position by having them affirm you to be across the street while discriminating. You put them in a bad spiritual place. In a situation where the God of the Holy Bible that they read states that that God has no respect of persons. And yet you showed respect of persons by saying, I will feed you so long as you are from these two groups. Without a doubt, we've seen poor reservations in ghettos, and we know the historical implications of that. But I'm going to appeal to all of you who's listening, human emotion right now. I'm going to say me, despite some bad things that may happen to me, I can't conceive turning any person away because of their skin color and letting them not eat. Your privilege means you should be able to just bippity boppity boo food. What? Do you understand that this inflation we're living under right now doesn't say, oh, you're this skin color, therefore it's going to escape you? That's not, no. If you're going to discriminate against certain groups of people, then quit asking for their taxpayer money to fund you. Because how would you feel if you were tax funding something and they say no black people can come eat in here? That has happened. What do you think the Montgomery bus boycotts were? We were giving to that economy and being told where we could sit on the bus. If you theoretically bought a ticket, why would you want to be told where you can sit? And don't tell me it's not the same thing, because once you're in public spaces, there's some similarity there. It's not the exact same, no, but there's some similarity. You can't redress wrongs by saying people deserve to starve. That's my opinion. And the thing about that is, if you're saying black and indigenous only, that means you're discriminating against other people of other backgrounds. This is Asians, this is Hindi people, this is Arabs, this is Caribbean born people, Africans born on the continent. Is this the message that we want to send? That all of black America is so angry that we want to see people starve? It's not a message I want to send. And look, I have to go ahead and say that this is just my opinion on this, and that some of my own foundational black Americans, or FBAs, are not going to agree. And I'm okay with that. I just don't see how you can address wrongs with that. And then when this Chaplin comes after you, you say he's engaging in political violence, which that's the only thing she may be right about. And let me explain myself. You went in as a chaplain on behalf of other groups, and there was nothing wrong with that. Did you really go there for food, or did you go there to test the waters to see if you would really be discriminated against? Because if this was any other poor person, period, that was not on that sign, being Asian, being East Asian, being Caribbean, being African, being from the continent of Europe also, or any white person, or whoever I may have left, yeah, Arab people. That's just insane. That you would say you would not help them. I can agree that how the chaplain handled it was exhibitionist style, but at the same time, why do you think you can take these people's taxpayer money and not feed them? I guess for me, having lived homeless for those 2 short stints, that's inconceivable to me. We're going so far backwards with making everything racist when it doesn't have to be. That it's just gotten out of hand. I can say personally for me, if I'm in Minneapolis, anywhere, out here in the greater Seattle area where people need help, I'm not going to turn them down because they're white and Asian and Arab and freaking their religion either. You put this church in a bad position doing this by saying one thing and doing another, just as the chaplain put people in a bad position probably by being an exhibitionist and walking in there just to test you. Because come on, sir, you went to test her. And while I understand that's the move you had to make, at the same time, both of you play a role, okay, in stirring up unnecessary racial tension. She should have fed anybody who went in there, regardless of their skin color. I'm not arguing that. And look, I know some people will say, well, I know this is a free country, but I don't want to go anywhere I'm not wanted. I'm sure there are probably some white, Asian, Arab, and other races of people who think that way. The issue I have with that way of thinking is that tax-funded money you pay taxes into paid for that. I can't see me as a human, period. And this is why I'm talking to everybody's humanity, seeing someone starve. And I would hate to think in a majority white city, because I think Minneapolis is majority white. that somebody would decide that they're not going to feed you. And look, I know there, Minnesota being Minnesota, there's probably some bad things that happen to black people. But I'm pretty sure there has to be some FBAs living there that think, wait a minute, why are we deciding to let these people starve? Everybody's struggling out here who isn't in the top 1%. Why make things harder? Yeah, I know I'm going to lose some subs. This is just something that as a person that didn't have and wondered where my meals were going to come from as a child, I just can't support this. I can't support the way this went down at all. Yeah, the Chaplin acted like an exhibitionist, and yeah, had a right to go to the Human Rights Commission. Just as she lied to that church to get her way. The means came to bitter ends on both sides. Let's just feed people and stop all this racial stuff. And again, I'm not dismissing, because racism's an issue. I've been looking up stats, and there's been a lot of stats of crimes committed against different races of people. But come on, y'all, everything ain't got to be about racism all the time. Let's just feed people. It's hard out here.